Ever look at a Forex chart and feel like it's just complete chaos? Well, what if I told you it's not random at all? What if there's a secret script, a daily playbook that a few big players use to move the market? That's exactly what we're digging into today. We're talking about a pretty wild trading theory called the market maker cycle. So, yeah, let's get right into it.
Okay, before we go any further, we've got to get the serious stuff out of the way. Look, everything we're about to talk about, it's all for educational purposes, okay? We're just breaking down a theory. This is absolutely not investment advice. You know the drill. Trading is super risky, and what worked yesterday is no guarantee for tomorrow. All right? Cool.
So, let's start with a question that kind of gets to the heart of this whole thing. When you're out there trading, do you ever feel like maybe the game isn't quite fair? Like you're playing against someone who knows the rules better than you do? That's the big idea we're exploring. And that leads us to this. This is the massive bombshell claim at the center of this whole system. The idea that the Forex market is rigged. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't just a small claim. It's the fundamental belief that everything else we're about to discuss is built on. So, a rigged financial market? That's a pretty heavy statement. But the theory says it's not just chaos, it's actually a system, a repeatable process. Let's break down how this is all supposed to work. All right, to get this, first you have to meet the villains of the story, so to speak. These are the folks who are supposedly pulling all the strings from behind the scenes. Let's talk about the market makers. So who are these market makers? Well, according to this theory, we're talking about the big dogs, the major banks, the huge financial institutions. The idea here is that they're not just playing the game like the rest of us. Oh no. They're supposedly the ones creating the game, actually directing the price wherever they want it to go. And what's their end game? Well, the theory says it's pretty brutal. Step 1, trick regular traders like you and me into thinking the market's going one way. Step 2, create total panic with a sudden sharp move in the opposite direction. Why? To trigger all those stop losses, wipe out orders, and basically kick as many people out of their trades as possible. And this is where it gets really interesting. This whole rigged market, it's not supposed to be random. The theory claims it all follows a predictable daily pattern, a kind of blueprint. They call it the daily trading cycle. Okay, so this daily blueprint has 4 phases. First up is accumulation. Think of this as the quiet before the storm, where the price is just bouncing around, setting the high and low for the day. Then, bam, you get the stop hunt. That's that nasty, fake move designed to trap everyone going the wrong way. After that comes the real move, the actual trend for the day. And finally, things calm down with a reversal, bringing the price back into a holding pattern. And here's what that looks like on an actual chart. See that blue box? That's your accumulation phase. Then look at that sudden, sharp drop. That's the stop hunt, the fake out move. Right after that, you see the price shoot up. That's the real trend. And it all wraps up in that red box, the reversal, where things just kind of chill out again. What's really wild is how this whole cycle supposedly lines up perfectly with the major trading sessions. You've got the Asian session, which is usually pretty quiet. That's your accumulation. Then the London session opens with a bang. Perfect time for a stop hunt and to kick off the big trend. And by the time the New York session rolls around, you're often seeing that reversal as the day winds down. It's like clockwork. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how in the world are you supposed to actually see this happening live? Well, the method says you need to look for 2 specific signature patterns that show up at the highs and lows. And we're talking about the famous M and W patterns. According to this theory, these shapes aren't just a coincidence. They're seen as the actual footprints left behind by the market makers, little clues that they're getting ready to flip the market. Now, this is super important. On the left, you see the perfect, clean textbook examples of the M and W. But let's be real, the market is never that pretty. On the right, you see what they look like on a live chart. It's way messier. The trick, they say, is to train your eye to see the basic structure, not to look for a perfect letter M or W. So let's break this down. According to this theory, the average trader, what they call the herd, looks at this chart and sees a nice, simple rising channel, right? You see higher highs, higher lows. It looks like a one-way ticket up. So they start buying. But if you're looking at this through the lens of the market maker cycle, you see something totally different. You're not seeing a trend. You're seeing the second peak of an M pattern getting put in place. You're seeing a trap being laid for everyone who's buying. You're seeing a reversal about to happen. But just seeing the M or W shape isn't enough to jump in. Nope. The system has a specific checklist.
First, the pattern has to form at the high or low of the day. Second, you need a specific candlestick pattern to show up, like these railroad tracks. Third, the price has to close across a key moving average, the 13 EMA. And finally, you need a confirmation signal from an indicator called the TDI. And here's a perfect example of it all coming together. You've got your W pattern forming at the low. Then right there, on that second dip of the W, you get that railroad tracks candle pattern. Down below, the TDI indicator gives the green light. And look what happened next. According to this chart, that setup was followed by a massive move of more than 100 pips. Pretty neat, huh?
Okay, so this all leads to the big takeaway, the core philosophy of this whole thing. It's basically, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. It's all about trading with the house, not against it. So the whole idea is to stop being the person who gets caught in the stop hunt. Instead, you learn to spot the trap being set, you wait for it to go off, and then you jump in and ride the real move, right alongside the very people who set the trap.
Now, you'll see charts like this in the source material showing some pretty eye-popping hypothetical profits. And I have to say this again, really clearly. These are just examples. They're based on hitting a certain number of pips every day, which is, well, it's not easy. This is not a promise of how much money you can make, at all.
So at the end of the day, this method isn't about some secret code. It really hammers home the importance of discipline. The key, it says, is patience, waiting for that perfect setup. It's about always using a stop loss. It's about practicing on a demo account until you're blue in the face. And it's about not being greedy, just aiming for one solid trade a day. And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Is this theory a real glimpse behind the curtain, a genuine blueprint for how the market actually works? Or is it just a really compelling story, a framework that helps us see patterns in what's ultimately just random chaos? That's something you'll have to figure out for yourself.